It's a pleasure having you here. And let me introduce Dr. Sinha. In fact, he has been a very seasoned banker in past with a lot of experience of working with State Bank of India and as business head of SME at SBI's Mumbai circle. It's I think the biggest circle probably of the SBI as far as SME is concerned. He spearheaded the largest portfolio amongst all circles. So that is the kind of experience that Dr. Sinha has. And he is presently founder of MSMEadvisor.com. And is an enterprising leader and planner with 30 plus years of extensive experience with State Bank Group, including top executive assignments in the SME and industry studies. And highly qualified, of course. I was reading these qualifications, holds PhD in business administration, postgraduate diploma in management, international management, CIIB, CIF, AMFI, a lot of qualifications and credits. I think very deserving and very highly qualified person to deliberate on these issues with a lot of practical experience. So over to you, Dr. Sinha.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you, Dr. Kumar, for nice words you spoken about me. Little bit I will speak about whatever Dr. Kumar has said. MSMEadvisor.com previous year, especially in COVID, how I thought that a lot of disconnect was there, fiscal movement restricted. So I came forward to put my experiences, the knowledge, the information, whatever products, services, MSME related, at a single point. And I also keep on putting my blogs for information and benefit for the MSMEs at the large. Professor and Chairperson Center of Excellence in Banking at the Jagdish School of Management, the 6th ASCSB accredited B School of the country, and the leading B School in the South India. Here I conceptualize and execute MSME financing course first time by any B School in the country, and successfully it has been done for the 3 batch of the students. Now coming to the subject matter, which is quite important from Indian perspective for growth of Indian economy, for our high GDP. Now, the government of India in COVID took timely measures in a very difficult phase for MSMEs. Especially the micro enterprises, they had a very difficult time. The Union Budget 2022 further came out with a fresh hope for revival and sustainability of MSMEs, especially the measures emphasizing inclusive finance, digital transformation, and sustainability. Amongst the various initiatives for MSMEs, one key highlight was the budget reallocation for MSMEs, which went up to rupees 21,422 crores from 15,699 crores, so up by about 27%. Similarly, the Prime Minister Employment Generation Program saw a significant allocation, up by 29% from 12,500 crore to 17,600 crores. The government initiatives which have been, I see a very positive development and encouraging kind of atmosphere build up. And going forward, the 25 years Amrit Kal blueprint to steer economy over next 25 years, a lot of opportunities for MSMEs and industries will be there, as the government has especially the integrated approach to developing modern airways, roadways, railways, waterways. So this will have a lot of ripple effects overall in various sectors. The fact remains that on the record of MSME finance, MSME Ministry, 6.33 crores MSMEs in the country. And majority of them, more than 90%, are micro enterprises. Micro and small comprises more than 95%. Now, there have been challenge of credit gap, especially for the micro enterprises. And the data which Dr. Kumar was sharing, IFC, that 30 lakh crore credit gap is there, which is certainly substantial. And RBI expert committee in 2019 to pinpoint the regions for the credit gap found three key aspects, which I will be covering subsequently how to address them. It was that risk, the lenders feel that yes, giving credit to MSMEs, especially micro enterprises, which do not have their bookkeeping properly, the education, the knowledge part is not up to the mark, remains a challenge and risky. Then high expense of supplying, reaching out, say in the rural areas, semi-urban areas, to the micro enterprises. That's also quite an important aspect. Then the third one, the inadequate presence of lenders in semi-urban and rural regions, especially going down below tier 4, tier 3, tier 2 centers. Now, in this perspective, I will be talking first say a little bit about new ways, instruments beyond banking finance. Little bit I will touch upon securitization of trade credit. It's a very good opportunity if secondary market of securitization gets developed, because here MSME credit could be packaged in the form of loan pools or securitized assets and sold to investors interested in such an asset loans. Then factoring to tackle delayed realization of receivables. This remains one of the major challenging aspects which affects the operating cycle of the MSMEs. Considerable delay in settlement of dues. So factoring services, yes, it has come up. Banks have their subsidiary factory services offering, and it is a preferred route where whatever the client sell invoice is there, say 80 to 90% of that invoice value immediately factor provides. Then the angel funds and venture capital funds. Here, the venture capital, an enterprise looks for the venture capital to expand or break into new markets and grow faster. Angel investors, as we know, that typically invest their own funds, unlike venture capitalists who manage the pooled money of others in a professionally managed fund. Then private equity funding is another source. Well, these are focused on funding a company in the early stages. And the PE investors, private equity investors not only bring capital, but also expertise and experience. That's a great advantage. But again, the challenge is that it's not available to all. It should appeal to the private equity fund for taking such a call for a particular MSME startups. Mezzanine financing, yes, normally the business owners prefer that, yes, the finance should come, but they should retain the control of their business and not give up valuable equity. So mezzanine financing here could be a source of funding, and it's something like between the debt and equity. So mezzanine finance is a structured debt like instrument earning high yields, and this could be a recourse for the MSMEs. Now, reaching out to the say stock market, well, it is possible only after certain stage when the unit has come out, not for all, but yes, 2012 onwards, both BSE and NSE launched their SME exchange platforms to enable MSMEs to raise funds and get listed as public entities. So that has been a good initiative in the past. At the same time, I would mention here that beyond whatever I have talked, those are also, I will put it in the nascent, in the developing stage in our country. But there are other products, services, which in my experiences, not all MSMEs, especially micro enterprises, they are aware and they are taking advantage of that. So I will share about this. Credit-linked capital subsidy scheme. In fact, this one scheme where awareness is not there amongst MSMEs, and when they are going for improved technology, and there are 51 subsectors identified by Government of India. Here, 15% of say 1 crore finance is there, so 15% subsidy they can have it, and they can apply through primary lending institutions. So here I had my practical observations that this information was lacking amongst micro, small, and medium enterprises largely. Then the credit fund, which Dr. Kumar was also mentioning, CGT MSE as we call. So here up to rupees 2 crore, yes, it's an opportunity without any collateral to get funds from bank. And as a banker, I have been there, so finding that yes, the seriousness is there in the promoters, it's a viable proposition. So we have gone forward for extending loan, and since there is a guarantee coverage available, so banks feel comfortable. Again, the MSMEs should reach out to the banks for getting facility under lending facility under this scheme. Then Prime Minister Employment Generation Program also, which I talked that the outlay has been increased substantially. Here, yes, the project cost 25 lakhs for manufacturing and 10 lakhs for services sector. Again, it is important for the micro enterprises especially. And depending on the different categories, subsidy component is available, online application can be filed. So the awareness has to be there. Again, Pradhan Mantri Mudra Yojana, which is started in 2015, again, online applications can be done, and up to rupees 10 lakhs collateral free, without any collateral, the loans can be taken here. So these are the schemes. In fact, all the details of this on msmeadvisor.com I have put in details, and the source link has been provided. So this awareness certainly, I'm sure, will be helpful for MSMEs to take advantage. Now, talking of Dr. Kumar was mentioning that given such a scenario where there is such a big gap available, and there are constraints in the system. Now, the model which to me, it looks that can be very successful and has started taking off. It is co-lending model where there is a partnership between the digital NBFCs and the banks, and the NBFCs have the advantage of accessibility, processing with speed, and the banks have the advantage of the balance sheet size and the scalability. So this way, the reach out of MSMEs which are there in Tier 3, Tier 4, and smaller population areas, sectors, it's possible through such NBFCs. Cheaper cost of onboarding relatively is there because banks cannot have brick and mortar kind of a setup at smaller places. They have their own constraints, capital constraints. So the NBFCs which work on data-driven credit algorithm, which is say based on DST, PAN card details, since the solutions like video KYC, e-signature, video sign have improved access. So here, this partnership or a symbiotic relationship between NBFCs and banks can really be very effective. And in the recent past, I have seen that such kind of collaborations have been coming forth. For instance, Ugrow Capital, they have tie-ups with 18 such partnerships, even bank like State Bank of India, bank like Bank of Baroda, even Edelweiss Finance also, I learned that they have also tie-up with public sector banks. So this I look forward as a very important model in the time to come forward to play its role. Now, Dr. Kumar and Ms. Akash was talking about also new practices, funding practices. Earlier, the focus had been there, say, in the 20th century, in the 80s, 90s, the collateral security used to be looked upon. But the past experiences show that these collateral securities are the last recourse for the bankers. Bankers do not initially need all this. What they require, that whatever the lending has been there, the timely repayment of the principal and the installment servicing should be done. So for that purpose, what is important is the cash flow based lending, and the banks have started giving focus, especially in 21st century, and they look at the cash flow on the bank statement, current account statement of MSMEs, that how the fund credits, debits are there, and based upon that, they are taking call also for sanctioning limits. So apart from this bank statement, as I said, that the fund flow, cash flow, that remains a very vital, important criteria for ensuring the health, that it is a standard assets, and that is what matters for the banks. The collaterals are the extreme situations when loan has gone bad and the last recourse for recovery. Then trade receivable discounting system, this concept which was started by RBI in 2014. But yes, it had been moving with a slow pace. It has on its platforms sellers, buyers, and financials as the participants. And MSMEs are the customers. Now here, for all the units and public sector enterprises with turnover of 500 crores and above, the guidance has been there that they should register on this trades platform, but still not all are registered. But nonetheless, it's moving with an increasing positive sign, because from 2017 to 2021, trades discounted invoices worth rupees 37,000 crores. And in 2021-22, whatever it was done in the last previous 4 years, little more than that, 38,000 crore invoices were discounted in 21-22. And now it is targeted that FY23, there will be 75,000 crore such a discounting. So it's a good sign, and it's very much required for helping out MSMEs. Then a digital lending platform, which Dr. Kumar mentioned, 59 minutes loan. Yeah, the concept is very good, but at the same time, the challenge has been there that yes, in principle approval is there, but bankers subsequently they go on their own way for appraisal. But nonetheless, here also the pickup number is there, whatever sanctioning, and then the disbursement, final sanction and disbursement, that percentage is
Dr.
going.
Sinha,
Yeah.
can I stop you here for a while?
Yeah, sure.
Looking at in the interest of time, I would just stop you for a while, because there are so many things that you have covered in your address that I am really getting impatient to ask some specific things from you as well as Mr. Jain. Particularly four things which I noted. The first one is, you said lack of awareness about the schemes and the banks, guidelines. So my first point is, how do we create awareness, more and more awareness, and inform the people about the schemes through which they can have better access to credit? That is my first question. If we can be briefly, covering very short, then I can have maybe covered more questions which can benefit the people.
Yeah, sure. Very important.
The first is awareness. How do we create awareness? Because for 50 years, we have not been able to create awareness, and the gap
MSME Ministry, Dr. Kumar, has MSME development institutes at important centers in the country. And their role is developmental role. Now, my suggestion would be that they should play active role in licensing with the MSMEs associations, industry associations, wherever they are located, and periodically they should conduct in participation of the banks there, lead banks there, SME heads there, and sharing knowledge on various schemes, government schemes.
No, Dr. Sinha,
yeah,
there is a little difference what I am saying. We are not talking of awareness about government schemes. We are talking about awareness as to how bank lending, credit flow from the banks can improve. So how do we create awareness? Because banks are not coming forward. People still do not know what is mudra, what is credit guarantee, it's all in the bank's domain.
Agreed. But somewhere somebody has to reach out. Again, banks to banks, circles to circles, journal offices to journal offices, people to people, who is heading. The approach differs, the reach out, meeting out, number of meetings, the ground level taking place.
Actually, banks are not coming forward. I have seen recently, private banks are still active, and they reach out to industries and associations and clusters. But nationalized banks, though, they are absolutely not reaching out. And if you ask them, then as you mentioned yourself, that the transaction cost of financing the small industry is high, so they don't prefer. So this problem continues. And the problem of that 2 crores collateral free lending, that also continues. So how do we bridge this? Can you have some practical suggestions so that we can really advise our industry friends that, okay, this is the method you go and talk to them?
Again, as far as the Reserve Bank of India has its target that 7.5% of the lending should go to the micro enterprises. Now the target is there. For achieving the target, obviously at the ground level, efforts has to be done by all the banks. Now for that, somebody has to monitor at the top level how the interactions have been going, how many number of meetings have been going, which associations, which industry association, which MSME clusters, the meetings are taking place. So somebody has to drive it at the top level.
Okay. So my another point was that this, the point that you mentioned about bookkeeping problem. The banks are saying that the bookkeeping is not adequate. So I would say that the banks are looking for good customers because it is their business. Their business is basically banking, and banking is nothing but deposits and lending. So I fail to understand. I have been a former banker basically. I fail to understand why don't they encourage and advise the clients who are good clients, working very well, and help them or partner with them to prepare their proposals and documentation and financial statements, or bookkeeping, as you mentioned, elementary bookkeeping to sab karte hain, but the kind of financial statements that banks need, in fact, why don't they partner with the industry and help them and facilitate?
Yeah, here, yes, I take your point. What happens that micro enterprises label practically, say, post demonetization, the transactions through account, obviously it started picking up. Now the cash intensity is much more than going through the accounts. And unless it is captured in the account, reflecting it, and say, even if some micro enterprises say that my turnover is 50 lakhs, but in the accounts, the transactions have been routed only 5 lakhs. Now, how to verify it? Now that becomes a challenge. So obviously, I know that I have since worked in all population groups, rural, semi-urban also. There, we were telling that yes, unless you route it in the account, you credit it in the account. Whatever say cash receive, you credit in the account, so it gets reflected. Tomorrow it will be an evidence of your turnover. So that kind of yes, knowledge sharing, guiding, obviously, I think it has to go in tandem by the bank's officials. If they feel that here is a genuine person who want to really work, who really is sustaining business, him out so that a proper record gets reflected. So here, obviously, the guidance, it helps out, certainly. And I had the experiences of that way.
Yes, yes. No, I think you have very aptly covered. In fact, the problems are well known to the industry, to the MSME sector and the entire government also. The banks also have certain limitations. I would appreciate what you are saying, that they cannot, after all, they are protecting the depositors' money, so they have to be careful. But the only problem is that bridging the gap. You see, it is not that the banks are not willing to finance to the deserving people, but those deserving people are not able to project themselves and they are not able to reach out. उनको पता नहीं है कि कहाँ पे जाना है, कैसे जाना है. अब co-lending की आपने बात की. Co-lending में people आज तक they don't know how many years have passed as far as co-lending policy came. People don't know whether to go to NBFC or to banks, and who will initiate the co-lending proposal. It's so difficult. So these are some practical difficulties. I am reading one comment from ex-GM Sidbi, Mr. Ramanan. He's saying that as Mudra coordinator for Tamil Nadu, I experienced total unwillingness by banks quoting increasing NPA. So Mudra mein to, this is the kind of experience we are getting from others also. So if you can advise कि अगर किसी को मुद्रा लोन अप्लाई करना है तो कैसे करेगा? आपने बताया कि ऑनलाइन करना पड़ेगा.
Yes, there is a Mudra portal is there. So online the application can be done. The details can be put forth there, and the banks, any banks dealing in the area can reach out and take up the proposal and process it.
If they don't take up, then if they don't take up of their own.
Yeah, then the borrower should also reach out nearby banker wherever he is located. Physically. Yeah.
So after filing the application online, they should physically also reach out in case the proposal is not picked up online by any bank.
Yeah.
Is that so?
Yeah.
Okay. And then they can, of course, talk to them and maybe convince them of their project.
Yeah, they can convince. Yes, I am a genuine borrower. I want to do business. I have these skill sets. Okay. I am willing to do business. Yeah.
Very good, very useful insight. Although we have a lot of queries from our participants, I'll come to them later maybe. But before that, I think we have plenty of things, in fact, to discuss. The whole problem is that this gap and the awareness and the trust and matchmaking between the seekers of the credit and the suppliers of the credit. These are crucial factors which in fact have to be addressed. And I would say that uh, through these new instruments, of course, new instruments are welcome, but the problem is it is not the instruments which are important. It is the connectivity with the bank, which is important. Once the bank or the financing institution takes up your proposal, they will go through any instruments that you may like. You may like bank guarantee, you may like cash credit, you may like term loan, you may like. So that will happen. But the problem is initial contact, the first contact and getting the bank to approve your first proposal. That is the challenge. I think gradually, as Dr. Sinha also mentioned, that gradually more and more awareness is being created through monitoring, through, when we talk to the ministry that these are the problems, they say that you apply to the bank. Any person who is needing credit proposal for any amount should apply to the bank, complete the documentation, and if they are not sanctioned, they should report. And you as association bring out those cases to us so that we can write to them. So I would suggest that anybody who is facing difficulty or who is needing the credit, additional credit or new credit, whether under Mudra or CGTMSC or any other scheme, you should apply first. Instead of saying कि मैं किसको बात करूं, you should nearby bank, as Dr. Sinha also suggested, that just by making an application online may not help. You have to go personally and talk to them and apply. They will say nahi kal aana, parso aana, but even then you should apply. Download the form and make a formal application along with your project and along with your covering letter. You will receive some communication. And talk to the branch head or the regional head or the zonal head, and they at least some activity will start. And if you don't get justice, you don't get sanction, you don't get communication, at least you can report at the higher level. And you can report even such cases to Power to SME's website also. And to some extent, we can also take up those cases, in fact, wherever it is possible.
Dr. Kumar, one point relating to rating,
Yes.
I would like to share
Please,
that
please.
one instance, my experience of a borrower who was dealing for the last 2 decades, very good track record. And he was rated well also. So as you know, that better the rating, competitive or better the interest rate will be there. So he was happy, but I came across when he in later on he approached that, sir, the branch is charging high rate of interest. We are a very good borrower for the last 2 decades. So as a business head, I went to the borrower place. Now through interactions, I came to know that his rating was very good for the previous year. But for the year, just immediately, his rating had come down. Why? The fact came that he had given projections, and the projections were achieved only up to 40%. Now the banks take into cognizance for the lending requirement the project itself. And when the project itself is not met, obviously the various financial parameters based on which it goes in the credit risk model, the rating certainly will come down. And that is what happened. Surely. He said, sir, my finance had been very optimistic. He gave such projections. I said, you should understand that what is the implication of it. Based on that, bank had given you excess money, but you did not use it. Obviously, RBI has certain guidances to the banks.
Okay. No, I agree. I understand what you're saying. There should not be any difference.
Yeah, borrower should understand it will improve their rating if whatever projections they are giving are realistic and they are achievable.
Yes, surely. So in the interest of time, I would like to go back to now some of the observations and questions which our participants have raised, because we have exceeded time. So let me quickly go through. Mr. Pankaj Arora writes that I am not sure if it is so much about awareness Rather, it is about disconnect between the institutions. Yes, surely I agree. It is to some extent awareness also, but disconnect is more relevant here because, as I said, that by between the borrower and the bank, in fact, it is basically the trust or the first contact which becomes all the important thing. Now, Mr. Minal Shah writes, even banks are not ready to extend CGTMSE. Very true, because they feel that probably CGTMSE is a partial guarantee and not a full guarantee, and collateral security will be much better for them. They are very reluctant. We have faced a lot of problems dealing with banks, private or national. None are ready to for CGTMSE. I think it's partially correct, but some of them are, accepting also. But there is general, feedback that CGTMSE is not welcomed by the bank. Now, Pankaj Arora writes, Mr. Pankaj Arora, the political agency is happy making tall announcements, while the executing agency, which is banks, they are happy within their cave and cohorts. Now, to some extent, it is okay because political intentions are not bad. In fact, they try whatever through policies and through directives, but execution, as you say, becomes a little tardy and difficult. And wherever I say that you are not able to get the assistance because of the pressure of work also, sometimes, the banks are also overloaded because of the pressure. They decide about the priorities. You may not be able to get attention, but if you draw their attention right and take up the matter with their senior people or to the government, the work is done. Then Mr. Manohar Shetty writes, PSB's attitude is certainly not encouraging. And Mr. Ramanan, of course, as I mentioned earlier, Mr. Pankaj Arora, encouraging, I am afraid, with their conservative mindset and often judgmental towards the youth and small business owners. Now, I think it is the risk versus incentives for bankers. The personal liabilities are high, Mr. Arora only writes, and incentives are low for bankers, especially in public sector banks. That is at the core of all this. And it most definitely an interesting problem to work upon. Yes, fully. I think these are some of the observations which are so important and relevant. I think everyone, Mr. Mistry, K. Mistry writes, everyone have to be educated with the banking norms in terms of account of operation, availing the loan and security norms. Yes, this is again awareness and education. Then Mr. Rajendra Kumar Singh, Mr. Mani and Mr. Nirav, I will try to respond. This is basically your response. So these are some of the observations which have been given by our participants. I would say that basically, Mr. Mani I am Mani TT from Avas Sarala, Bangalore. We came out of NPA during June 22 by OTS with SBI, UBI and IOB. Serving nuclear power and space sectors, we need around rupees 15 crore of bank guarantees limits. Where can I get that? We are 37 years old company having around 80 crores revenue. And so, see, since you have can Dr. Sinha respond to this question? He says that they have come out of NPA.
Yes.
By OTS with SBI.
Yeah, one-time settlement has been mentioned with the State Bank of India, Union Bank, and Indian Overseas Bank. They are experienced in this line. That is what is reflected, and have a turnover also 80 crores. Now they are looking for 50 crore bank guarantee. Now, one fact which has been there, and they also should note that yes, their account was in the past NPA. So looking to the past, these banks, 3 banks, obviously would like that this contingent liability of 15 crores, which if extended to you, should not become contingent liability. And you should be in a position to successfully execute the task for which you are expecting the bank guarantee. So that kind of confidence building, first you have to give to the bankers that the chances, the scope for crystallization or this non-fund based liability becoming a fund-based liability it will not be there. So the details of the terms and conditions and other things obviously would require a knowledge before really making, a specific pointer
So Dr.
for
Sinha,
solution. Yeah.
Dr. Sinha, his point is, where should he approach? To State Bank of India or to some other bank?
Obviously, he can approach with all these three banks.
No,
But
which bank?
SBI, UBI, and IOB,
Okay.
where
Any
he
of
had
these banks where he has done OTS.
where he had relations,
Okay.
and he should satisfy that the bank guarantee, which is now being sought 15 crores, the concern of the bankers will be that this should also not become a liability for them.
No, that of course he has to satisfy.
So that
When the bankers will
satisfaction.
know, those details have to be told to him.
Yeah.
It is not that he is asking how should he apply and where should he apply.
Yeah, to these banks can be applied, because if he goes to any other bank, his record is NPA. So
Yeah.
they, as a new borrower, they may not
consider. They may
comfortable
Yes.
in entertaining. But since Mr. Money has a dealing with these banks already, so there
Yes.
is a track record. Maybe for certain regions, this account would have become NPA. If the bankers are satisfied, SBI or UBI or IOB, that yes, this 15 crore bank guarantee for the purpose which is sought, they are fully justified, and there is not likelihood in all practicalness for becoming it as a liability.
Okay. Zumair, do we have other questions? If you can read out, if there
No,
is.
sir, you have covered all the things submitted by the participants. I think that is it.
I think there is one from Mr. Neerav Jha.
Neerav Jha, right.
I am Neerav Jha. We are a manufacturer of process piping systems and valve. Market is very good of this product, but I am short of working capital. Bank funding is limited as per the looking for an investor to 3 to 5 crore for more details. Dr. Sinha, will you like to say, or Mr. Jain?
Yeah, here debt financing. Yeah, obviously bankers have certain criteria, like leveraging of it. Obviously, they will be looking at certain financial ratios like debt equity ratio or the current ratio. And if certain limitations is as per them, that up to what extent they can fund. So that is coming. So for the remaining gap amount, he has to look outside. So in outside, again, how old it is, what kind of his business is, whether he can attract from private equity, angel investor, those sort. So whether his business plan has some unique aspects of its own. All these things would matter if he is looking beyond the banks, going for getting certain participation in equity.
Thank you. So I think we have covered most of the issues raised by our participants, and to whatever extent possible, given in fact some inputs how the credit gap can be, reduced to some extent by adopting new approaches and new tools, ratings, and through various other instruments which are available now for financing. I hope the participants would have got some clue of this. But anyway, if there is any further query or any more information required, we all are available. You can write on the website also, and you can write to Power to SME also, or even directly to our distinguished guest, Dr. Sinha.